it was in my
Yeah,
settings.
it's in the settings.
Maybe there's like a golden mean of like one leg off. Or two, maybe.
Hopefully not the middle one. It's definitely better.
Okay, so that was some Divine from his disco career, which he pursued in the 80s, as did many, perhaps too many. If you ever encounter kind of virulent disdain for disco in popular cultural artifacts from the kind of late 70s, 80s onward, it's kind of, nowadays you might be inclined to attribute it to, maybe it was some level of misogyny, homophobia, and while those are probably certainly factors, there was too much disco in the 70s and 80s. It was really, there was so much disco. So in this context, of course not everybody knows that Divine was a disco performer, as it's difficult to make a dent in a market which by this point was quite oversaturated. But yes, he was. Any more interesting things about Divine? Those of you who did the reading, I won't call on you out of respect for your renewed attendance.
I don't remember. I did it before the movie. I thought that's when we were supposed to do it. So it's gone now.
Yeah. I've got all of you like lawyers now trying to defend yourself. All right. Will, anything?
I have no excuses.
You have no excuses.
Yes.
All right. That's good.
All I know about Divine was he was the inspiration for Ursula in Little Mermaid, and I think that's a really cool.
Really?
Yeah.
I did
Divine
not, dude,
Divine
why
inspired
didn't you
Ursula.
use that as like a fun fact last class? That would have. That's
I-
crazy.
That's just kind of been sitting in my head. I haven't really consciously thought about it in a while, but yeah, Ursula.
That makes so much
Divine.
sense.
It does the makeup and everything. By the way, part of my villain origin story is that when I was in middle school, I wanted to be Ursula in a
That's my
musical.
dream role. That's one of my dream roles.
That is.
I'm good one of Ursula.
So I'm glad that we can compensate for our lack of having done the reading with our enthusiasm for Ursula. Did you make it or?
Well,
It's all right. It was a busy week, everybody. I know. I have midterms too. I'm not just talking shit.
I already shared my divine fact.
Yeah. So you're free now.
Yeah, personal connections, so I'm exempt.
Yeah.
He
So
was surprisingly soft-spoken.
was surprisingly soft-spoken. That's true. And he also has kind of a villain origin story of his own. Look at that. Ursula has one too. And it's having spent an entire life, growing up in Baltimore as a fat gay kid and being thrust into adulthood at the same time that this gay movement is being thrust into existence, that this gay pride movement is beginning to erupt into culture, into media, into cinema, and at the same time that there are all these people who identify themselves as female impersonators or as drag queens. If you made it to watch the interview, you'd know Divine never adopted either title and preferred to call himself an actor who played women, even though it was always the same woman, and also the same woman did disco. But, I guess self-identification is important here. And it was also, if you look at any of the other films that we've watched, whether they be ones that view sex as something beautiful, something morally positive, like Boys in the Sand, or people who have much more cynical viewpoints of it, like LA Plays Itself. Every pornographic film that we've watched has very much just put forward very conventionally attractive people. But as John Waters points out, Divine is probably the most attractive person there is. Because, as he says, there's nobody else I've ever taken a walk down the streets with who has caused car accidents purely by their appearance. And Divine is such a remarkably, interestingly, I don't even have him up. Let me amend that really quickly. There we go. Divine is such a remarkably interesting looking character that he makes sort of a wonderful human representation of filth. Of kind of like tackiness with the hair almost made to accentuate its recession, and the tremendously, overdone eyebrows, the garish makeup. There's no better human embodiment for filth, and no better filthiest person alive, as the film will point out through its plot. And while we're on the topic of plot, call me weird, but it kind of reminded me of Myra Breckinridge a little bit, just in that this is the second movie we've watched this year where there's two teams fighting each other. And in Myra Breckinridge, who were the two teams? There was the women and the men. There's Myra Breckinridge and whatever the European woman's name was, and there's, I'm forgetting all my names now, but there's the male characters and Buck Loner, the male characters and the female characters. And sex is what unites each team and brings it cohesion. But the two teams in Pink Flamingos, first of all, does anyone want to summarize? We have one participant who hasn't watched the film, so maybe for his sake. Does anyone want to say what those two teams are? Absolutely.
Because I missed that amazing screening for the most miserable weekend of my life. So let me try to remember the last one, which I think was, I remember there was two teams of people. They both were trying to be the filthiest person alive, I think, or like the filthiest people alive. And there's Divine and Divine's friends who live in the trailer, and then there's like these neighbors or something that aren't actually their neighbors. They're just like, because they live in a house, so they must. Yeah,
they're pretty. I think the implication of them sending something through the mail as well is that they live pretty far away.
Yeah, that's what I kind of figured. But the
Marbles family.
Yes,
the Marbles.
That's what. Yeah, and they are. I don't know. I don't have anything to say about them as people. Actually, that's just the two teams.
Yeah. Does anyone have anything to say about them as people?
There's two distinctions, I think. Divine is kind of a bit more hickish, just lives in a trailer in the middle of nowhere, like way outside of Baltimore. Whereas those guys the other team are more cosmopolitan, they live in a nice house in like an urban area. And also, the most important part is Divine and her cronies are more gay, and the other two are like heterosexuals.
Although interestingly, these heterosexuals are profiting off of the gay world in a way that we'll perhaps get to a little bit later. So there's Divine's family. Within, I've made a beautiful flowchart for myself to follow. Within Divine's family, you have Cotton and Crackers, who have a sort of complex, voyeuristic, sexual, and incestuous relationship. There's Edie, the matriarch of the family, who I suppose the chickens are probably too scarred from their treatment to produce eggs. So they have to rely on external sources of eggs.
What?
Edie is very into eggs and loves eggs. Eggs every meal, and loves the egg man, who's a man who brings suitcases full of eggs laid out in nice patterns. And she loves the egg man, and she loves having him bring eggs, even though they do have chickens in the backyard. And these are chickens which they use for sexual purposes, which is, to be more specific, Crackers will bring other women into the shed and put chickens in between himself and the other women during sexual intercourse, which his sister Cotton will be watching through the window. And at the same time, at the real center of this family, at the real heart of this family, is Divine, and they're all living in the trailer. And their definition of filth is pretty simple and pretty straightforward. These are filthy people in that these are people who are, unabashedly poor, unabashedly weird, unbothered by what other people consider to be physically disgusting or repellent, and they're incredibly authentic. You see them and you know what they are. But Divine, who had recently received the prestigious award in a publication being named the filthiest person alive, finds a challenger in this other family who seems not to fit any of these definitions. This family is called the Marbles. They live in a suburban home, not a shed in an unidentified area. They have a successful business of sorts, and they have a successful marriage of sorts. In a sense, they're almost your conventional American middle-class family. But the way that the business functions, more or less their business model, is to capture women, have their slave impregnate them, and sell the babies to lesbian couples. So I hope you're all caught up now.
And then give the money to inner city elementary school crack rings.
That's true, that's right. Give the money to sell heroin to inner city elementary schools. I wrote that down here and I forgot to say it. Thank you very much. The baby store, they're selling their little noodles, as they call them. Within Divine, you have somebody who is filthy, not morally, but physically and in terms of class, by just kind of being of the lower class, being poor, living in a trailer. That's the kind of filth that they're living in. But the filth for the Marbles is much more of a moral sort of thing. But when it comes to physical filth, they're actually quite grossed out. Like I just mentioned, they have their slave / servant, whose name... Channing, yes. Channing, thank you. Extra points. Channing impregnates the captured women for them. And the first shot of this movie is this really, really long shot as the credits start of a pink flamingo on the front lawn of Divine's, I don't know if you could really call it a lawn, but besides the trailer. And so having this as the first shot, a pink flamingo on the outside of a trailer, like, does anybody have any thoughts, any opinions on that?
It's a little ironic. I feel like pink flamingos are very like suburban white picket fence lawn decoration.
Exactly. Pink flamingos are like as a matter of fact, pink flamingos are so commercialized as a lawn decoration that there are more plastic pink flamingos than real pink flamingos in the world.
Oh, really?
By quite a wide margin.
The lawn pink flamingo would win in a war against the real pink flamingo. You have basically both Divine and the Marble family stepping outside of their own boundaries. Divine, who is under the name Babs Johnson, this poor woman living in this trailer, has a pink flamingo, is adopting the iconography of the middle class, whereas the Marbles are offended that they can't have the title of filthiest person alive, which is a term used usually to demean the lower class. Another thing about the Marbles is that their moral repugnance also spreads to their personal behavior. So you have Raymond, for example, is a flasher, an expositionist, constantly going out showing his penis and perhaps not impressed with the size of his own penis, attaches large pieces of meat to it. This is really a hard movie to catch you up on.
Hey, I'm fascinated.
But and then the whole movie can be summarized by what the Marbles call the Battle of Filth, which is a war between these two factions where, despite some effective insults issued by the Marbles, Divine ultimately will emerge victorious and will time after time humiliate them and put them back into their place. Does anyone want to attempt to give a chronology? What's the first offense? What is the first border crossing of the Battle of Filth?
I believe it's when the Marbles send Divine a piece of shit in the mail.
That is true. The Marbles send, as a matter of fact, a year-old. Every time they mention it, it becomes older and older. But I think by the end, it's a year and some months change. Old turd is sent in the mail to an address listed as a trailer. And that starts the war. That's the first insult.
I just don't remember. How did they even end up knowing that each other existed? Like,
Marbles was published in a newspaper, or sorry, Divine was published in a newspaper as the filthiest person alive.
Oh, right, yeah.
To which the Marbles took offense. First is a war. They don't even see each other. They don't even know each other's names. All that Divine knows is somebody has sent me a shit, and they are a claimant to my title. Does anybody remember afterwards? Can summarize maybe anything that happens after that?
Well, then there's the second offense where Divine's having her birthday party, and it's a real bash, you know? It's like a guy flexing his butthole. That's the main thing I remember. He's just laying down, like legs up in the air, flexing his butthole. And then they come and...
Yeah, you do. Yeah. It's you kind of almost get like secondhand anal prolapse just watching it, but it's definitely a memorable visual. Yeah.
But you know they're really jealous, these big urbanites. So they call the cops. What are the names? The Divine's ops.
The Marbles?
The Marbles, yeah, they call the cops because you know they can't handle it themselves, so they have to rely on authority because they're not real filth.
Yeah.
And the police come, and then they see the police. They all hide in the trailer, and then pop out with guns. This Nazi like shoots up the cops. So there's just some lady with a Nazi armband, and then they
one of Divine's friends. Yeah.
Yeah, one of Divine's friends, and they just
who doesn't have
eat
one?
the cops. They take the bones and start munching on the cops.
Yeah, so it ends with the cop invasion ends with cannibalism. But that is a really interesting point you made.
Anytime I think you can't get any weirder. That's fascinating.
But the Marbles attempt to invade the birthday party, which
Backfires.
yeah, backfires because they have no backbone. They have no real filth, and they're relying on separate authorities to protect them. They're like, look at what they're doing. Let's call the police. Divine and her friends are not concerned with the police and see them as nothing more than seconds at their birthday dinner. But you might notice something even more interesting, which is when the invasion is reversed. When Divine, along with Cracker, attack the Marbles' house, and the Marbles are recovering afterwards. They're like, oh no, what are we going to do? Do you remember what their concern was? It's that Divine might have called the police. So they're really scared that Divine is going to be using authority.
Didn't they say, oh, maybe we should call the police? Like weren't they gonna call the police on Divine breaking in?
If I recall correctly, once they saw the missing captives, they were like, oh no, they might have called the
I thought it was
police.
We should call the police.
Yeah.
Which I think was really funny because then the police would come to check out this break-in and like discover this whole sex dungeon thing.
I do like to imagine them calling the police in and saying my sex dungeon was robbed. You know? But I can't remember for sure. You have me questioning my memory now. But in either event, these are people who rely on external authority, and Divine is doing all of the work herself until this conflict culminates in something which is remarkably similar to our legal system, but flipped on its head, which is the kangaroo court trial, of which I have a don't I have a photo somewhere? Yes, I have one here. Amidst their trial, they're literally not allowed to speak, and every time that one of Divine's witnesses says something against their interest, Divine asks, is there any cross-examination, to which they can't reply. And this visual gag is a really good representation for the way the legal system functions, which is alluded to throughout the movie. The middle-class people see the legal system as their weapon, as something that will reliably support their interests. But when they're faced with the same level of unfairness, just biased against them, you can't even hear their complaints, which I'm sure they have plenty of because their mouths are tied up. And then they're tarred and feathered and shot. And this is a really, like, just imagine being from Baltimore in the 1970s, having both, like, the excitement of the kind of gay liberation movement beginning and in its early years around you, and also all of the tension, the resentment, and the frustrations that come with class oppression in America. To see this legal system which benefits Divine at the expense of these hypocritical, evil and disingenuous middle-class Americans, about whom everything is fake, even their hair colors. It's a cathartic thing. And in that sense, I would say the scene which is most remarkably different in terms of its tone and its presentation and its morality from a utopian, idyllic Wakefield Pool film, the thing that seems to be that's antithesis is still ultimately similar. It's still using film to realize this fantasy that so many working class people have. Sorry, did you want to say something?
Well, that's another reason why I thought it was them, the two on screen, calling the police. It's because they expect that the police would take their side no matter what, so they'd help them, like, against Divine with the break-in, despite the fact that they're running an evil, like, sex slavery operation in the basement. So I thought that it was kind of a commentary on that a little bit.
Yeah, like the level of delusion it would take to call them over. It is also funny that with all the mentioning, the only time that you see police in the film are when they go in and immediately get shot and eaten. They're just mentioned a fair amount. And to affirm her claim to the title of filthiest person alive, let's see if this GIF works, as a matter of fact. Nice. I can just have this running during my whole presentation. Wouldn't this be a bit distracting? But yeah, Divine eats a dog shit. I could have got maybe 2 runs for good measure. Divine eats a dog shit. And what's particularly funny about this is that for some people it's going to be the most memorable image of the film. It's going to be by far the most disgusting thing that they see. For other people, though, they'll be like, well, that's nothing in comparison to when they, like, fucked and murdered all those chickens, right? That was really weird. Why is nobody talking about that? I actually have an interesting clip for you, which the first time I watched this film, and I was still in shock from kind of having seen everything, I want to say that this clip just played immediately after with maybe a couple seconds in between, like to set it up. But yeah, this is what John Waters said about the chickens. Sorry, I have to move everything over to the big screen here.
Rights activists always say to me, how could you kill a chicken for a movie? Well, I eat chicken, and I know the chicken didn't land on my plate from a heart attack. We bought the chicken from a farmer who advertised freshly killed chicken. I think we made the chicken's life better. Got to be in a movie, got fucked, and then right after filming the next take, the cast ate the chicken.
So, I think probably this, if not just as much, maybe even more than the movie itself, highlights the moral critique that John Waters is making with Pink Flamingos, which is everybody's eating chicken, everybody's eating food which relies on chickens who are put into, ultimately, much worse conditions than being in between two people during a really weird filmed sexual encounter. And people really only make a stink out of it when they have to see it, when it's in front of their eyes. Which, in a way, perhaps by being offended, we make all of ourselves into a marble. Yes, I wanted to, with the last 20 minutes or so, first of all, I wanted to ask, I started this class off the last time I taught I taught the course by just asking what people thought of Pink Flamingos. And probably one of the most interesting comments I got was that it's simultaneously a 1-star movie and a 5-star movie. Because there's no point in this movie where it's boring or mediocre. And the words that you can use to describe it become more fitting the more extreme they are in either direction. And I was wondering, does anybody else have any thoughts or opinions on watching this, or the experience of it?
I loved it, and I think part of why I loved it was because it was just so removed from any sort of human sensibilities. Like, just the amount of disgust and ridicule and like I don't know, just there's flashing and really strange sex and weird perversion and eating shit. But then also just all the interactions in the movie, even the otherwise innocuous ones, just feel so rooted in sarcasm. The dialogue feels kind of so unrealistic and disjointed, or not disjointed, but it just feels so unrealistic and exaggerated that it's just it just feels so disconnected from human sensibilities. And John Waters plays into that so well, and I think it makes it such a brilliant movie.
Yeah, it's so surrealist to a point where you just want to hear everything, because before somebody opens your mouth, you know that you're going to be charmed by the overwritten dialogue, the accent, and the performance all in one. There's standout moments. Connie and Raymond Marbles, you have breathed your last breath. You have sighed your last sigh. That's such a weird way to just emphasize two different ways of breathing as the last things that you do. But it's written so deliberately. And then there was also the line you brought up earlier, where just in one kind of run-on sentence, it's yes, we are abducting and raping women off the streets to sell to lesbians who want babies, and using the profits to fund heroin selling in inner city elementary schools. There's so much going on in one sentence. That is, and at certain points the charm comes from the fact that the actors stumble over their own lines, and then that just kind of just makes them funnier because it emphasizes how I guess, as you would say, removed from human sensibilities the writing and the whole thing is. And I think it's also impressive how much social commentary can be made in such wildly unrealistically written film. Did anybody else have any other opinions on the movie? Do you want to speak, or?
I liked it overall. The one complaint I had was, in fact, the line delivery when it was not so good.
Yeah, it's very
more,
immature.
I felt like that was more at the beginning, but maybe you know, I don't know if I just like acclimated to it, or if it was filmed chronologically and they got a little more familiar with the script or what.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, there was a lot of like the stumbling over the lines that was sort of surprising to me in an unpleasant way, like an unpleasant surprise. Like, ooh.
There's a lot of charm to this movie that you get. Well, what I probably optimistically call charm, but which are like objectively limitations to how it's made, like jagged edges that come from how indie it is, how independent and low budget it was. I'm gonna say 12,000. Was it 10,000 or 12,000? I think $10,000 actually. I think a $10,000 budget for Pink Flamingos, and not much larger for his other movies. As a matter of fact, maybe we could talk a bit about his other movies, because this is unfortunately the only John Waters movie of the course. But I would encourage you to watch his Trash Trilogy, which was a series of 3 movies made in this very amateur era and very low budget era of John Waters' film career. Pink Flamingos, Female Trouble, Desperate Living are all very heavily laden with social commentary. But even as he became more mainstream, more high budget, and those jagged edges kind of disappeared, he made Polyester in 1981, Hairspray in 1988, and he made Crybaby as well, a lot of bigger budget movies. You know, if you watch these movies, you'll see some of the same absurdity as Pink Flamingos. Like Polyester, for example, is a movie where Divine is playing basically the straight man of the film, playing a put upon stay-at-home mother, and Hairspray has probably one of my favorite scenes in the John Water movie, where he's playing a therapist who's trying to fix a girl's attraction to black men with a cattle prod.
Which movie?
That's Hairspray, 1988. So there's if these movies are considered to be normal mainstream movies, that's only in opposition to Pink Flamingos, Female Trouble, and Desperate Living. And also I should mention, because somebody pointed this out to me, even though this is what's called the Trash Trilogy, he did have another movie that came out before, Multiple Maniacs, which he made with Divine. Here is the 2 of them together. Isn't that beautiful? And they also made a short film which is not lost, but also not publicly available right now, aside from very rare and select screenings, where Divine plays Jackie Kennedy in the JFK assassination.
What?
Yeah.
Why isn't this available?
This is on my bucket list, but I think John Waters definitely has it, because he screened it at events, but there's no way to just Google this and watch this online.
Holy shit.
Thankfully, the real JFK assassination can be viewed by the Zapruder film, if you think that's an adequate substitute. Yeah. Back into the left, folks. But this guy gets it. Anyway, I didn't have much more to say about the movie, because there's not really that much that the movie doesn't say itself. But before we go, I just wanted to pull back to this picture of John Waters, because it's one that's really inspirational to me and other people. Once you realize not only was it, much more difficult to make a movie back then than it is today. I wouldn't even know what to do with a camera that looked like that. If you ever try to make a movie, difficulty in finding a reliable actor who will show up at the right place at the right time is really remarkable. And to have these scenes where he has almost like seemingly everybody in Baltimore at his birthday party. I mean, he can get like huge crowds to do these things on a low budget. I mean, that's really incredibly impressive, and it shows that you can get a lot done and you can realize a vision if you're not afraid to look like a psychopath and to be really overly confident and to be set on your vision. So if he had no excuse not to make Pink Flamingos, then if you have a movie idea, you definitely don't have an excuse not to make it. I would love to show the trailer for next week's movie, but unfortunately I haven't been able to access my Google Drive today, which has the syllabus, so you actually know next week's movie better than me. But this Friday, a movie will be screened in this room at 6 p.m. So I hope to see you there. Does anyone have any parting thoughts?
Is it a secret movie?
I literally don't remember which movie I
I
decided. I think it is Drive, 1974.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not 100% sure.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Hope to see you all next week. And I also hope, as the last time I taught this course, this week's was also my least put together and professionally delivered lecture due to scheduling. So thanks to those who made it anyway.
See ya.
See ya. You are free to leave now, but I do have an addendum that I was going to mention for Pink Flamingos because I didn't get to say it in the lecture. But the scene where, as you'll remember, Raymond Marbles gets his comeuppance from flashing. He gets flashed. The woman who, the trans woman who is in many other films by many other Waters films, was actually Baltimore's first bottom surgery recipient a week after the film was made. So I assume there's probably less pressure or less fear about showing your penis on camera when you know you won't have it a week later. I thought that was interesting context. And one more thing, the finale, as you'll remember, the sequence of the trial, this would actually in the 90s become a trope in hip-hop to show, to kind of flip the idea of the trial and of the bourgeois legal system on its head. So I wanted to provide two examples. This one you've almost definitely heard. The other example there, by the way, I have no idea who did that voice, and I haven't been able to find out after researching. But another example you might not have heard is from Tupac.
America, 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 America.
A reference to the KKK.
That was
Murder.
Yeah, very
Suppressing and punishing my people. I charge you with robbery for robbing me of my history. I charge you with false imprisonment for keeping me trapped in the project. And the jury finds you guilty on all accounts. And you have to serve the consequences for your evil schemes. Prosecutor, do you have any more evidence? Words of wisdom based upon the strength of a name.
So yeah, in this song he also, redefines the N-word as an acronym for never ignorant, getting goals accomplished. So in more ways than one, he's flipping the the tools of oppression on their head. Whether there's any inspiration from Pink Flamingos, it's hard to say, but it's interesting that there's a kind of similarity in angry working class art across the decades. And that is all. So I hope to see you Friday for El Paso Wrecking Horror.
Yes.
I hope you enjoyed your breaks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fion.
Thank you, Julia.
Have a good one.
I'll try my hardest.